Have I been a terrible fool, Arthur?
I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But one thing I do know, there ain't no shame in looking for a better world.
Oh, you'll never change. I know that.
I feel like the luckiest man alive, and I feel like a fool.
You know, when I restarted Red Dead Redemption 2 for the second time, there was this wholesome, like, first 20 hours of the game that I'll probably always remember. Riding through these, like, scenic landscapes and talking to every single possible NPC and utilising the wee mini challenges that I didn't even really glance at my first time around kind of filled me with a sense of wonder, and it satisfied, like, my inner adventurer. But in all the little tiny details that RDR2 had to offer me, the one that hooked me probably instantly was just riding around the world and traversing it, and realise that it just feels genuinely alive. One cool thing I loved was riding around and looking for different, like, places to camp. So, like, I got a mod that let me do it, so I could, like, camp anywhere in the game, and it would become like this multi-day journey type thing where I would go from mission to mission, but it would take multiple in-game days because I was too busy just wanting to camp. Like, it became one of my favourite parts of the whole game. I'd be sitting by the fire and just chilling out, eating some food and reading Arthur's journal, something I didn't really pay much attention to my first time around. It was so cool to see the contrast between the character that Arthur kind of portrayed, the tough guy act, and the kind of nice man on the inside who was kind of philosophical, I guess you could say. That was such a cool thing that I didn't even notice the first time around. And all the relaxation that these moments gave me, and the realism and slow pace that the game was, this became my favourite part. The time to slow down from the madness, take a breath, start a fire, eat some food, and reflect what was going on. You know, like, I felt like I wanted the real thing. I'd never camped prior to playing RDR2, so the fact that it gave me clarity in a game, I was like, right, well, the real life thing will probably blow me away. So I set it up, me, my friend, 2 friends and my girlfriend, and we set off. Hold on, there's something not right here. That's better. Anyway, me, my 2 friends and my girlfriend set it up, and we've went 3 times over the year so far. We're into November now, the end of November, and each camp has been pretty much core memory. You know, there's a really sweet story that my girlfriend told me in the last camp where she was talking about, you know, like, people on their deathbeds, they think about different things, and we used to talk about this a lot, like things like, you know, the last thing you think about is you wish you never worked as much or cared about money or all these things. You just wish you had more memories to think about. And she said that when it came to, I guess, our time when we were on our deathbed, we were thinking, you know, we hope that moments like these are the core memories and the memories that we think about then, and we want to create as many of them as possible. And that was just really sweet to me, because I agree completely. These are the type of moments in my life where, you know, I wish I could remember when my time comes, I guess. You know, I think I'll always treasure and think about the moments of, like, just keeping the campfire going, keeping it nice and warm in the cold of a night, and cooking great food, great company. Good topics, and taking time to reflect on life as a whole, because I don't really have a lot of moments in my life where I have slowed down and took a second to think about what was going on in life. Really cool reflection I had after camping, and keep in mind this is my first time, like, ever doing it, was the satisfaction of keeping a fire going when it was freezing, because, like, that becomes your lifeline, and then fire and heat become a luxury, and it carries over to life. There's, like, I guess I'll call it the post-camp 48 hours, where everything in your life becomes pure luxury. The simple act of turning on a tap that brings out water, hot or cold, becomes luxury. These things you start to be overwhelmingly grateful for, and that was probably one of my favourite reflections from camping. Because unfortunately in this world, there are people out there who do not have the ability to just turn on a tap and have water. So keep in mind this. If you remember one thing about this video, be this. In a world where we care so much about wealth, fame and status, remember it is a miracle that you can turn a tap and have water come out that is drinkable and can be used to wash yourself. That is a miracle, not fame, wealth and status. That's what it's all about. You know, making this video was like a juggling match to me, because on one hand I just wanted to talk about RDR2 and glaze it for what it is, because it does deserve it. But on the other hand, if you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that I like to tell personal stories, and I guess you could say I'm a pretty emotional guy. So I felt, well, keep in line with the channel, let's tell a nice wee personal story. And it just so happens to be that RDR2 has one of my most treasured personal stories. I find a lot of value in stories that are rooted in, I don't know, life, things about life, or you go through another person's life and you can kind of take something from it. RDR2 as a whole, from its conclusion, makes me feel like I've came out of it with a sense of personal growth. Now, because obviously I'm on my second playthrough now, and I've not even finished up my second playthrough like I've said. I feel like I've not even finished it, and the second time I've came out with so much to learn, and one very important lesson, which is this whole video's topic, is the one about not being afraid to change and not feeling shame for looking for it in the first place. To give an example, my first time playing RDR2, I came away with this overwhelming love of the idea of brotherhood and being there for another person, something like Arthur and John. And that was a very satisfying story and conclusion to me, and I really enjoyed that, and I still do. But my second playthrough was different. My second playthrough was a little bit more about life as a whole, because I was playing through the game and everything's going well, and then I get to the mission where you have to help Mary's brother, I think little brother, because he's going down the wrong path and you have to help him. And something Arthur says blew my fucking mind. Like, it was like, I guess, a quote that I needed to hear at the right time. It was like, it was too perfect of a scenario to hear this quote. One thing I do know, ain't no shame looking for a better world. To give some background on me as a person, let's just say this. 2 years ago, I was kind of like drifting through life. And then I started training in mixed martial arts. And it immediately gave me this sense of fulfillment. Like, I was enjoying showing up to training and learning steadily and progressing through the ranks, and no ranks, but like progressing in my own personal level. But one thing that changed over the course of a couple of months is the passion that I had for the sport and the act of combat sports quickly turned into this unrelenting, unforgiving, never-ending pursuit of worthiness. See, I believed that the world valued me based on the idea of me being a fighter and not based on me being who I actually am. So my passion turned into this pursuit, essentially. The funny thing is, I like almost immediately attached this sense of I need to have the title of a fighter to be worthy in this world. Without it, I was essentially nothing. So I trained hard, I trained relentlessly. I made huge strides. I actually got to a place where I felt like I was getting quite good. And then I came into talks about making my debut. And it was at this time when I was introduced to my now girlfriend. You know, I'm not sure if I show it enough to her, or if she realises how much of an impact that she's had on me as a whole. Just like, it can be like the weest things. It doesn't have to be like, you know, this big talk to me about how, oh, you're worthy of, you're valued and this and that. And it wasn't like that. It was just wee subtle signs that showed to me
that I don't have to have this title in order to be worth something, because she showed me that who I was on the inside, which I revealed to her, because I guess you can say I'm an emotional guy, like I said before. I can get quite vulnerable. I shell it a lot, similar to Arthur, I guess. But on the inside, I guess I'm completely different from the persona that I've put on a lot of the times. And she saw through it, and she showed me just subtly that who I was what she wanted and who she valued. And any time I acted out of that according, it seemed like she could see through it. She really wanted me for who I was rather than the title that I had attached myself to. That was the only thing that made me worth anything to anybody. In retrospect, it's kind of funny to see the difference of, like, I'm still in a pursuit of finding who I am and who I am to be in this life. I still don't know. I work the same job as I did before. This time I'm not doing combat sports professionally, or like in the pursuit of doing it professionally. And there's a fucking huge difference. And the difference is, I like the man in the mirror. Because before, I wouldn't even fucking look at that man in the mirror. I wouldn't even fucking bother, because he wasn't worthy, because he didn't have the title yet. The difference is, now, I don't fucking want the title, and I can look the man in the mirror and feel this sense of inner peace, and I can say, I like that guy. I enjoy him. Just, like, my girlfriend, I don't know if she realises just how much value I have for her, just for the simple act of seeing me for me and treating me like I'm, you know, like I guess like I'm worthy. Sounds crazy, but this is how my brain worked, genuinely. The problem was as well, this is where the shame part from the quote comes in. I felt trapped in this world of mixed martial arts. I felt like quitting was shameful, and having to have the moment of telling people that I no longer train mixed martial arts would be this horrible sense of, like, I'm a failure. Because of this, I still took my a debut fight came. I had made strides. I had done a charity fight which I won, and I done like an interclub mixed martial arts fight that I done really well on. And then I had a boxing fight that didn't go too well, but I showed heart and I showed cardio towards the end, and I started to take over and win. And then it came to the debut, which I was confident for, but because of the impact my girlfriend had on me, it made me feel like I was valued already. And regardless of this debut, where I would officially get the title that I was in pursuit for 2 years, the title became worthless, because who I am already was valued, if you know what I mean. So the debut came, I showed up, and I got my fucking ass beat. Like, there's no two ways about it. I didn't show up with the intention of fighting. I had basically already given up by that point, but I said I am not a quitter. I will go in, I'll take my licks, and I'll show up. And I did. I showed up, I didn't go down. The guy hit me with everything that he had. He's a good prospect in MMA right now, and he just destroyed me. But I did not go down. I went the distance, Rocky 1 style, my favourite film of all time. And there was like the post fight, everyone's come up to me saying like, you're the toughest bastard ever, and I was like, cool, thanks very much. And before that would have been like this huge like, yeah, I know, oh, that's so good to hear, you know. Now it was like, so I just took a beating and maybe lost a few years off my life for something I didn't want to do in the first place. But I'm not a quitter, that's the ego talking. And you know, my coach looked at me and he was like, you're a fighter now. Something I'd wanted to hear for like 2 years. I had wanted that so bad, you know. I'd looked at his opinion as mattering so much about me. So when he said you're a fighter, I was like, I felt nothing, because I was already valued by someone that I actually cared about. God, I'm such a simp. And as much shame as I felt like in the moment of like telling people I quit and internally feeling like I've quit, especially to me, I guess you could say I'm a very prideful person. There's a Scottish way of saying pride. But then obviously I started playing Red Dead Redemption 2 during this time, and I'm fully immersed, and I gave myself like this cool little release date thing where I'd planned to play it like 3 months prior, but I would say I'd start on December 1st to give me like a game to look forward to, and that playthrough's still going to this day, and it's almost December the year after. I'm in chapter 4. So, and motherfuckers, I'm not finishing it for you, okay? So you can see me crying internet again. No chance. You know, I'm taking my time. You know, people are out there greeting about, you know, the ending of the game, and then you've got me in chapter 4. Just chilling. But what I'm trying to say is, the quote meant a lot to me, because in a moment where I felt so much shame for telling people that I quit, and internally feeling like I quit, which I did, this quote hurt me so hard, because it was like a reminder. It was almost like it was put there on purpose to remind me that it's okay if something doesn't align anymore. It's okay to broaden your search for something else that really means something to you, like really means something to you. And there should never be a level of shame for looking for a better world. And that, it just hurt me. Like, you couldn't have got better timing than that, to be honest. Not like RDR2 saved my fucking life. Of course not. I've never been like, I'm ready to blow my fucking head off. But what I'm trying to say is RDR2, at the right time, looked or said to a 25-year-old guy who had, you know, dedicated his life to a certain path, and eventually realised that it's not the right path for me, and it's not the only way to be valued in life, and all this and that. And it just reminded the 25-year-old me that no matter what path you choose, there is many different paths. You can go down one and you'll learn a shit ton from it, but there is no shame in just stopping, slowing the fuck down, looking around and realising there's so many more paths I can take, and there's no shame in starting to walk down one of them. And hell, I'm still looking. I'm still in the same job I've always been in. But I'm not afraid to look anymore. I feel no shame in looking, and it might take me a lifetime to find what it is I'm destined to be, and that's okay. And I want to tell you that as well, if you want to take away something from this as well. That, listen, well, none of us, no one in this world truly will ever have it all figured out. We're all searching, we're all looking. It takes a lifetime to realise who we are in this life, and it might take me a lifetime to realise, and it might take you a lifetime to realise. Sorry, I'm speaking so fast. But keep looking, have no shame, be you. You are enough right now. You will be enough to someone right now. Remember that. And take your time, please. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. I'm going to enjoy some nature before I leave, so maybe I'll take you with me. Still fucking got it, man.